So it's been 2 weeks since we got back from Zambia, and I miss it so much. I wanted to go on this trip before I even knew I wanted to go to BW. I remember being on a tour and seeing a handout and thinking, if I go to BW, I am going to Zambia. And here I am 2 years later, and we did it. And it was the most incredible experience I've ever had. And I'm not just saying that. Zambia has changed my life. We were welcomed with open arms. I remember walking up the steps of Bare Feet Theater and seeing our new friends playing drums and singing a song and just being so happy. Like, that was the coolest welcome ever. There was this instant connection, and I can't quite put my finger on what exactly it was, but we just sort of magically clicked. We had this conversation before we started working about what we wanted to do with the show, and it turned into this talk of, fear of failure versus empowerment and how they relate and how one drives the other. And it was really great hearing everybody's perspective because I feel like we learned a lot about each other on that day, more than any small talk ever could. But yeah, and then we just jumped into the work. We did these awesome theater games, a lot of them which I will be using now here in the US. When we devised our first little piece of the puzzle, I was a little daunted at first because I was like, wow, we're actually here with people who have been doing this forever. How am I gonna contribute? And it was so easy. They really made it so inviting and so easy to take risks. The way they attack the work is just free and uninhibited and so in the body. I feel like here in the US, we could get so in our heads, like every little detail about what we're doing, instead of living in the moment and being present with yourself and with those around you. And that's what I felt at Bare Feet Theater, working with them. I felt like I could take on anything. It was truly a collaborative process. They truly embody yes and building off of each other's ideas instead of pushing one aside and doing your own thing, because it never works that way. Theater should be collaborative, and that's what it was. It was collaborative. And I think a part of that had to do with the fact that we didn't really have internet. Just not being on social media all the time was so relaxing. I remember sleeping better. I remember being less stressed out. I remember feeling less tension in my body. It allowed me to really make more meaningful connections with people, to have more meaningful conversations. We played Scrabble and Phase 10 like every night at Arise Africa. Without the screens in our faces, it was just different. I wish it was like that here. In Zambia, it's a slower pace and people aren't so concerned about, what trivial trends are happening, or it's so in the moment, and that's so valuable, and I feel like that's how we should all be living our lives. And then seeing the theater that we create, and seeing theater in a different light, and not in the sense that it's this big industry that tells you what you have to do in order to be successful. It tells you need to go to like LA or New York, or look a certain way, or be a certain way. It's not some stupid popularity contest. Theater is about helping people. It's about making people feel like they're not alone. It's about bringing joy to people, and that's what Bare Feet does. They do community outreach. They perform for these kids who are living on the street. They provide therapy and eventually ask some of them to be part of their company. And that's the coolest thing. That's incredible. And I want to be a part of something like that. I want to do theater in a way that is meaningful and that helps people. I'm just not so concerned about, like, am I doing this right? I'm more concerned now about, am I living my truth? Am I doing something that feels right? Am I telling my true story? I've learned to be more confident in myself and what makes me unique, because what I have to say has value, and that I don't have to try to fit in, but that I know that I belong. That's one of the things that Ngosa actually told us when we met with her. This whole entire trip kind of has turned into a gender equality trip. We saw the Forbidden Ground and we had a conversation with the Bare Feet artists about their views on it and what the show meant to them, and I realized that women over in Zambia are going through some of the same stuff we are, and gender inequality is universal, however disappointing that is, but it's also empowering, because imagine what we could do, the changes we can make if we all come together globally. Like, that would be incredible. I was surrounded by such like-minded people, not in just our views, but just, you know, what made us happy, and our passion for theater, our senses of humor. There's so many similarities that I found with my new friends at Bare Feet, and I thought if I could connect on such a meaningful level with people on the other side of the world, then imagine what else is out there. There's a huge world out there, and I can get so caught up in my day-to-day life, you know, being a college student, and I'm so grateful for having this new perspective on the world and knowing what is, there's a bunny approaching me right now, and knowing what's important in life. Performance Day was the most fulfilling day of my life. Just seeing what we worked on for 2 weeks come to fruition, seeing the joy on those kids' faces, seeing them climb up trees to get a better view, I was beside myself. You know, afterwards I got this huge group hug from all these kids, and I've never smiled so big and so wide for so long. But that's what it should be about. There's so much of this trip that I can't even put into words, but all I can really say now is I am going to live my life in a more meaningful way. I'm going to spend my time doing things that I enjoy, not just staring at a screen. I'm going to focus my career efforts on something that brings people joy. Something that is a more selfless version of theater. I am so grateful for my time in Zambia, and I just want to say thank you to my friends at BW, thank you Scott and Dwayne, and thank you to my friends at Bare Feet. More fire.